Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a supernatural horror film, The Conjuring, Part 1. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. In the year 1971, the Perron family moved into an old house on Rhode Island with their 5 daughters, who are excited to run into their new home. But the yummy dog resists coming in. The parents then leave it alone and begin to arrange the furniture. The youngest girl brings home a music box which she found at the lakeside. When the girls play hide and seek, they discover by chance the cellar, which is sealed off. It is full of spider webs and clouds of dust, so Roger closes the door and warns the girls to keep away from it. At night, the yummy dog barks in the yard. The family think it is just not used to the new home and don't take it seriously. However, since then, weird things happen one after another. Carolyn wakes up and is astonished to notice a strange bruise on her leg. All the clocks stop at 3:07 in the morning, and their lively dog dies for no reason in the yard. The third daughter sleepwalks to the eldest sister's bedroom and bangs her head repeatedly against the wardrobe. One day, the youngest girl sits alone in her bedroom while her sisters are at school. Carolyn hears her talking to someone. She comes in, but finds no one else there. Thinking she must be longing for a friend to chat with, Carolyn then plays hide and seek with her. It's a children's game, in which the seeker can ask the hider to clap hands as many as 3 times, so as to locate the hider. The youngest hides, and Carolyn seeks. Carolyn sees in the opened wardrobe a pair of hands clapping, and hears a slight gasp. So she stretches her arms to catch her, but is startled to see her running out from the back of the door, where she hides instead. Confused, Carolyn then searches thoroughly among the clothes, but finds no one inside. The horror escalates that night. The fourth daughter is dragged by someone by the leg and awakens. She thinks it must be her second sister, who shares the bedroom with her. But the second is asleep in her bed. The fourth looks around and catches a specter behind the door. She wakes the second up gingerly. When the second approaches the door, she sees no one, but smells a rotten stink. The fourth stares at her, trembling, and cries that specter is standing right behind her. When the second turns around, the door closes with a bang. The girl's scream wakes the parents up. They run into her bedroom. The fourth daughter cries and tells them that the specter says it wants them all to die. One night, when Carolyn is alone in her bedroom, she hears laughter. She walks out of the bedroom and sees the girls are all asleep. Then she hears the glass smashing from downstairs. When she turns around, the photos on the wall begin to fall down. She tiptoes downstairs, avoiding the fragments. And once again, she hears someone clapping hands. She walks toward the clapping sound to the cellar and finds the door open by itself. She turns on the light, but sees no one. But when she threatens that she will lock the door, she is pushed by some force and rolls downstairs into the cellar. Before she can realize what happens, a toy ball bounces out of the closet. Startled, Carolyn scrambles upstairs. Before she flees out of the cellar, the bulb blasts and the door is locked. She lights a match. In the dark, she sees a pair of hands clapping once upon her ear. In a bedroom upstairs, the third daughter sleepwalks again and constantly hits her head against the wardrobe. The second daughter awakens and helps her sister to sleep again. More clashes come from inside the wardrobe. The third wakes up again and sees a sinister spirit on top of the wardrobe. It jumps onto the second daughter. At that time, after coming back from his business trip, Roger hears the screams and rushes into the house. He finds her wife, who is screaming. And the couple rush upstairs when the second daughter is struggling, lying on the floor. Haunted by those supernatural incidents, Carolyn has to seek help from the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine, the noted paranormal investigators. The Warrens are giving a lecture at the university. The husband Ed articulates the 3 phases of conjuring. First, infestation, the specters gasp and creep to manifest their existence. Second, oppression. The specters oppress the victims, weaken their mind, and destroy their will. And the third and final is possession. Before the Warrens drive home after the lecture, Carolyn stops them at the parking lot and invites them to exorcise the sinister spirits. Seeing her in a real panic, the Warrens agree. The next day, they drive to the parents. What the Warrens discover is a haunting house. Ed discovers the rotten smells, which is the sign of specters. Lorraine senses anomaly the moment she steps in, and says horrible accidents must have happened in the cellar. Soon they find the specter of a little boy is confined in the music box that the youngest daughter brought home. Besides that, the most sinister is from the old tree at the lakeside, on which a witch hanged herself. The Warrens are sure the house is haunted and requires exorcising. However, unauthorized exorcising by the church requires solid evidence. So the Warrens return home to bring their equipment, planning to come back tomorrow for the collection of evidence. When the Warrens return home, Lorraine begins to read the profiles. She discovers that the Perron's house was once owned by a witch who hanged herself on the lakeside tree and died at 3:07. She cursed all those who would take her property. Ever since then, every family that had moved into the house were plagued. The next day, the Warrens come back to the house with a professional team. They equip the house with a monitor system and special cameras invented by Ed, which are sensitive to temperature and automatically take pictures whenever the temperature drops abruptly. Ed also puts many crosses in the house to conjure up the specters. Their first night in the house is peaceful. At breakfast the next morning, the girls ask for ice creams, so Roger takes them to the town. A dreadful wind blows when Lorraine dries the sheets. Beneath one sheet, however, a specter conjures suddenly. Lorraine looks up and sees it jumping into Carolyn's bedroom through the window. Lorraine immediately runs upstairs. While Carolyn is asleep, the specter spits out a big mouthful of blood into her mouth and possesses her instantly. Carolyn is vomiting when Lorraine knocks at the door in anxiety and cries out her name. However, Carolyn opens the door as if nothing happened, saying she feels only a bit of discomfort. That night, the policeman from the Warrens team spots the specter of a maid. While the third daughter sleepwalks upstairs again, the cameras continue taking photos. When she enters the bedroom and slams the door, the team rush to hit the door open. The assistant hears from the monitor a little boy guiding the third daughter to hide. When the men break the door in, they find no trace of the third daughter. Ed searches for her with a portable ultraviolet radiator. In the wardrobe, he finds her handprint. On the wall behind the wardrobe there is a niche, and the little girl is hiding there. Roger carries her to her room. The youngest daughter says her third sister will hide in that niche when she is terrified. Lorraine realizes there must be something behind the niche, so she crawls in with a flashlight in her hand. Through the niche she comes into a wooden den. There she finds some boys' toys on a table, and one end of a rope down the table. When Lorraine pulls the rope, the wooden floor under her feet fall apart, and she falls down to the cellar. She sees the specter of a woman who died there. It repeatedly mumbles, "She asked me to do it." Lorraine flees in terror. Now Lorraine sees the demon's purpose is to possess the hostess of the house. The strange bruise on Carolyn's leg is the sign of its possessing her. The crosses fall to the ground. The demon drags the second daughter forward by the hair. When men try hard to pull her back in vain, Lorraine cuts off her hair and saves her. Ed's assistant records what has just happened as evidence. After the Perron family leave to stay in the hotel for a while for their safety, Lorraine walks to the lakeside, forced by some unknown power. There she sees her daughter's shadow, floating on the water. In a panic, she runs into the house to call her mother, and is assured nothing happened to her daughter. Though knowing it is the sign that the sinister specter warns her not to get involved, the Warrens still submit the evidence video to the priest. The priest is horrified on watching the video, but he says the church needs authorization from the Vatican for exorcising, and promises they will proceed on it. On their way driving home, it is thunderstormy at midnight. The Warrens' daughter awakens from her dream. Thinking her parents are back, she walks out of her bedroom to meet them. When all of a sudden, the light in the corridor turns off. The frightened little girl goes into the study room and shuts the door. And she sees a specter of a woman sitting on the rocking chair with a frightening doll in her arms. Hearing her scream, her granny comes, but she can't open the door, no matter how hard she tries. Just then, the Warrens arrive home. Ed breaks the door in, rushes to carry his daughter in his arms when the rocking chair hits the wall and breaks into pieces. Their relief is interrupted when Roger calls, saying that Carolyn drives back to the haunted house with two daughters, and that the girls say their mom smells rotten. Ed asks Roger to wait in the hotel, and the couple hurry to the house with the policeman and the assistant. When they arrive, Carolyn already loses control of herself. The men struggle to snatch the scissors from her hand. When she tries to stab her daughter, they pull her out of the cellar and try to take her to the church to exorcise. The bruises all over Carolyn's body begin to deteriorate quickly, and Lorraine knows she will be killed by the specter inside her if they force her to leave the house. Then Carolyn is pulled away to the cellar. She struggles and crying out for her husband. The men can't control her as she is possessed by a powerful specter. She bites the policeman and pushes Ed to the ground. Lorraine casts a piece of white cloth on her, and they tie her to the chair. It will be too late to wait for the priest, so Ed decides to exorcise by himself. He recites the spell and drops holy dew on Carolyn. When the specter howls and summons its evil powers, the furniture rock violently, the pigeons hit the windshields, and crows flock in. Ed speeds up his reciting. Blood spurted from Carolyn's mouth stains the white cloth red, and the witch's face manifests out of the bloody white cloth. Ed continues the spell before all quiet down suddenly. The men watch the chair rise, hit the ceiling, and fall to the ground again. The witch laughs ghastly inside Carolyn and tells Ed they must all die. Then a gun from the corner fires at Ed. The policeman thrusts Ed down to the ground and saves him. The assistant levers the wooden floor apart in the kitchen and finds the other daughter beneath the floor. He yells that he found her, and this alerts the demon inside Carolyn. She picks up the scissors and dashes upstairs. Ed calls the witch's name, and Carolyn hesitates. Right then, Lorraine presses on Carolyn's head, asking her to remember how much her family means to her, and Roger calls out her name, wanting her back. Carolyn remembers their wonderful time on the beach, and the bright smiles on her 5 daughters' faces. Her love for her family works. She manages to get rid of the demonic possession and dispel the specter of the witch away. Later, the Warrens place the music box in their cellar, which confines a little boy's specter. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Peace out.